Hello and welcome to lesson 1 of week 5. In this lesson, we are going to look at functions in Python. My name is Mildred. Now, a function is like a block of code that we write to perform a specific task, and it only runs when it is called. Now, before we go into function, there is something I need to show you about debugging your code when you begin to write code for production. You see, every time we click on the run button, a file is run. Let's say you are building this file as a module that will be imported by other apps or other files. You don't want to leave print statements and all those testing of the function within the function. You don't want it to interrupt any of the code or function in the file that will import it. You just want this to run as a script only when it is run as a script. Maybe the run button is clicked or it is called to run as a script. There is something we always see beneath the code: if name equal to main, like this. So this is always written at the bottom of every code, and in the body of this if statement, then we write what we want to test. For now, we'll put pass. Now, what does this do? It's only saying that this should run as a script when the run button is clicked or when it's called to run as a script. But other than that, it should not interrupt anything. So this statement, if name is equal to main, just acts as a conditional check. The block of code that we leave here, indicated by a pass for now because we don't want errors until we want to test our code. So that block of code here will only be executed if the name of the variable is equal to main. And every time a Python file is executed as a script, name is going to be set to main, and then the code here will run. But what is not as a script is part of the application. It's another processing file of an application. Until you click a run button or you call that to run, you will not have this code interrupting anything. So now that we know this, let's start writing our functions. In Python, we create a function using a def keyword like this, and then we have a name for the function. Just like variables, functions have naming rules. You don't want to use something that means something in Python as a name for a function. Okay, so we want to select a name for the function. Let's say we want a function that, when called, will display a greeting message. So we'll put a pair parenthesis and then a colon. Now, we have discussed previously that Python relies on indentation, and indentation is the spaces before the code. So it just means that this is a whole block that will run together. All right, so every time you put a colon, the next line will be indented if you are using an IDE like this. So what do we want to do? We use a statement called return. Now, up until this point, we used to use print to just see the output, but when you create a function, you use the return statement, and what the return statement does is to return the final value to the calling script when that function completes its task. So if this function completes the task and the function is called, what do we do? So if this function is called and the task is completed, what does it give to the user or the calling program? We want it to just return a statement that will just say hello or welcome or something like that. So let's say return hello and welcome to the School of Programming and Software Development. Alright, so how do we call this function? In the body of the if statement here, we want to call the function by just writing the function name greet like this and a pair of parentheses. Now, this is just a basic function that doesn't have anything in the parentheses, but there are functions that takes arguments. Argument is when you call the function and you supply a value in the parentheses for it to work with. But when defining the function, that argument is called a parameter, right? So this function doesn't have any parameter in the definition. So when we call that function, we do not have any arguments to give to the function. We just call the function with the function name and then a pair of parentheses. When I say greet, this is not printing anything because I use a return statement. So what do? I want to print this out. I use a print statement, and I want to print and call the function within the parentheses of the print statement. And now it's going to print hello and welcome to the School of Programming and Software Development. Now, always remember that the return statement will return something to the calling program, but it's not going to print that out. If you want it to be printed out, then you use the print statement, and then in the parentheses, you call the function within the parentheses, or you call the function in a variable and then pass it to a print statement, depending on what you want to do. But in our advanced course that starts in September, we are going to look at how we write functions for production and how we use all of this. But this is just a basic introduction to function. Let's say we want to have a second function that says farewell. Now we'll return goodbye, thank you for choosing us, like this. And when we call this greet, then let's say print and we print farewell. So when we run now, it prints hello and welcome to School of Programming and Software Development, and then it prints goodbye, thank you for choosing us. So now we can see how we create a function. But when you begin to think about an application, how is this useful? So we want to have something that we always use, and we don't want to have to write it over and over again. Let's say we want a function that does something. We are creating a calculator application, for instance. We want a function that will take the user's input, so whatever value is punched on the calculator, and then use this input to calculate something that the user wants to get. Let's say on our calculator app, we want a function that will calculate the area of a triangle, for instance. So let's do a function. So now we are seeing a real life application of a function. You can give your function any name you want, but it's good practice to allow your function names to make meaning or make sense. So we want this function to be area tri. Let me just call it area triangle. Now this function is going to be defined with parameters, and the formula for the area of a triangle is half times base times height, right? So it will be base times height divided by 2. So that's half times base times height, right? So once base times height to be calculated first, then divide by 2. So in this parenthesis here, we want to collect the base and the height from the user. You can name your parameters anything you want. I can name it base and then height like this. You can name it anything you want. And what do I want it to do with this? I want it to return the calculation, which is going to be base times height divided by 2. Now, how do I use this? I want to print out the area of a triangle, and I'll supply base. Let's say the base of this is 5 and the height is 9, right? And so when I call this function, and in the parentheses, I give it the argument now. So because this argument will change every time, so maybe the person has 10 questions to answer, wants to use a calculator that has all of these formulas inbuilt in the calculator. So this is for like embedded systems. And so you want to calculate the area of a triangle. You don't know in advance what the user is going to use as the base or the height. So you create a function that will take a base and take a height. And then you want to return the calculation here using the formula base times height over 2, or half times base times height. And so by the time you do that and you call the function, you only need to supply the arguments base and the height, because here is base and height. You can't supply arguments that you did not specify as a parameter in the function definition. Alright, and so when we run this, I'll clear here first. We will get the formula calculating the area of a triangle whose base is 5 and height is 9 to be 22.5. So if you use a calculator, you'll see that the calculation is done right. The same thing you can do with other formulas. You can try out looking at mathematical formulas, basic formulas we use in elementary school, and see if you can create a function that will return the correct calculation of whatever value you pass. But now we can see that this is basic. You supply base and height. This formula has no problem. When we give arguments, there are two types of arguments. We have keyword arguments, and then we have something else we call positional arguments. Now this example will not show us the difference between keyword arguments and positional arguments. Let's say we want to calculate the area of a trapezoid, for instance. That will show us what we want to look at. Now the formula for that, I think, is half. So it has two bases, the top base and the bottom base. So we have to have the top base plus the bottom base times the height. So let's say half times the top base plus the bottom base times the height. So which is translated to be A plus B divided by 2, all of this times height. So we're trying to put the order of precedence correctly in our formula so that when we try to calculate this, it is going to do it correctly. So we want it to add A and B and divide it by 2 and multiply that by the height. Now, how do we write this function? So let's say the area, and now we have to supply 3 parameters: the top base, the bottom base, the height. So let's say base 1, base 2, height. And when the user gives this as an argument, you want it to return the calculation, which is going to be the formula. So what do you return? You return base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height, right? You can put this in parentheses again if you want it to go in the order like this. Now, how do we use this? Now, we want to call the function area trap, and then we want to supply the base 1, the base 2, and the height. So let's say the base 1 is like 2, base 2 is 3, and the height is 5. Let's use this for an example. Now, what we just use here is positional arguments. We always specify the arguments in the order in which the parameters are listed, base 1, then base 2, then the height, and then you run this and then you get 12.5, right? So it looks like all is well because you use positional arguments, you did this in the order in the parameters are listed in the function definition. But what if you have a user that just wants to put them in any order? Put the height first, then base 2, then base 1. This will give you a wrong, misleading answer, 8.0, and so the answer that comes out will be wrong. And this is where keyword argument comes in. So because you don't want to have this error, you want to use keywords. So let's say this one is the height. So we'll say height is equal to 5, base 2 is equal to 3, and base 1 is equal to 2. So now because we use keyword, the system knows that plug this into where the height is supposed to be, plug this into where base 2 is supposed to be, and this into where base 1 is supposed to be, and then we'll get the correct answer 12.5 because we put them using keywords. So when we use keyword arguments, it does not matter the order in which we specify the arguments when we call the function. Now there is something we call return types. We're not going to look at that in this lesson, but when you build your functions or you build your system for production, you always have to have return types. What is the final return type and what is the type for each of the arguments? And we'll look at that in the advanced course where we do full stack Python development. But for now, you just need to get a hang of how to create functions, what functions are used for, and how to call functions. There is something you will see very commonly, the args and keyword args. You see something like args and then you see something like keyword args like this. Now what are they? These two uses a wildcard character, the asterisk sign. So the args use one asterisk, keyword args use two asterisks. When are they useful? Now if you go to the full stack course, you will see that there are times where we want to create a function that collects all of the column names. Let's say we are creating a database table and it has the names of the columns as keyword arguments and then the values that the user enters in all of these columns to send these values to the database. But that is a complex example. Let's look at something that is easy that we can do as a beginner. Now when we use args is when we don't know in advance what the user is going to pass in or how many values the user will pass in as arguments. Let's say for instance we have this app that a user can come and list all of their family members. Now different people have different number of family members. We don't know this in advance. So let's say I want to create a function called userFam like this. And the first thing is they all have, let's assume now that they all have the same family name. We want an argument called family name as the first argument, and then we want the second argument to be a list of all the family members. We don't know in advance, so we use an asterisk, call this the args members. Some people just put args here, but you can give it any name you want. So let's use args so you can understand the convention. When it takes the family name or the last name and then a list of all of the members of the family, you want to return, let's say we want to return like a whole string. We use the format character here. So we'll say f the members, or then we want to get whatever the user puts as the family name. So the members of this family are, and then we now write a list of all of the members that is listed here as the args. So we'll say the member of this family are, we'll write this as args. And so when we call this function, let's print here, and what we're printing here is the members of whatever we specify here as the family are whatever list of members we have here. So we'll say print, we'll call userFam, and then in the parentheses, let's say the first argument, which is the last name or the family name, let's say Johnson. And then we want to put the second argument, which we don't know in advance, will now be the list of the family members. So let's say Johnson has a daughter called Allison, Johnson has a daughter called Dorcas, Johnson has a son called Mike, and Johnson has another son called Ben. So now we have listed more arguments than the number of parameters. Because we use an asterisk here, it now lists all of them under this parameter. So when we run this now, what we will see now is we'll get all of these lists of family members and we'll get this plugged into this statement. So I'll run this and it says the member of Johnson family are Allison, Dorcas, Mike, Ben. So we can see we get a tuple of all of the members. So you can format this further to give you whatever you want, but this is how we use these args to collect data that we don't know the number, or that the number varies across users like this. But when we use keyword args is when we don't know the number of keyword arguments that the user will supply. So let's use the same example, and let's say we want to get, we don't know in advance the keyword arguments that the user will use when they call this function. Let's say we are building an app. This is like an endpoint or an API, and we want to return a dictionary of name value pairs, and we want the name or the key to be the last name, and then the value should be another dictionary of the members of the family, and that dictionary will have as key the title of the family member, and then as value the first name of that family member. So let's do that. So once we return a dictionary, when we use curly brace like this for a dictionary, and we want to use the key to be the family name, so put family name, and we want the value to be the keyword argument here that the user is going to specify. So we'll just use values keyword args like this. So how do we call this function? We'll print, and now we want to call the function user fam, and we want to get the family name as a key. So we want to return a dictionary, and then the value as a dictionary of the title of the family member, and then the first name of that family member. So we print, and now we are using keyword arguments because the keyword argument is now what we are going to use as the title in the nested dictionary. So like the family name, now the first one we want to put is, let's use the same Johnson, right? And now we want to put keyword arguments that we don't know in advance. So we want to say spouse is equal to, so we're putting a keyword. So the spouse here is Jane. Then we want to put first child. Let's say first is equal to, let's call the first child Mabel. Let's say they have 3 children. So let's say second is equal to Michael. And let's say last is equal to, let's call this John. So now we can see what we did here, that we specified keyword arguments. I don't know in advance how many. Maybe somebody else will have the 3rd, 4th, 5th child. But so while they call the function, they specify keyword arguments that we don't know in advance. And so we put the first one, which is family name here. We can decide to write the keyword argument family name if we want, is equal to Johnson. Now when we run this, it will print out the Johnson, which is the family name, as a key, and then the value will now be a dictionary of the position as the key, and then the name, first name of each family member as the value. So this is one application of keyword arguments in real life application or real world application, when you want to return a dictionary of name value pairs of different things. You can do it in different way. Maybe you want to get everybody who was born in a particular year. That year is going to be the key, and then the value is going to be the list of everybody or the dictionary of everybody, whatever you want. So you can explore around with all of this and know how to use functions in detail. There are advanced functions that we do in the advanced full stack development course, where we look at the return types, we look at nested functions, we look at having default function parameters, we look at higher order functions, closures, and all of the function topics that you can now use in a production environment. So this is where we end this lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to look at lambda function and user input. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.